These are the hottest trending comics this week. A lot has just sold, and we're here every 7 days to report on what's going on. Number 10 on the list is Absolute Batman, the Ash Can. This is hitting $35 average sales. We have a new Batman comic coming. In fact, we have a handful of reboots coming over at DC, making it a great jumping on point if you want to enjoy the Holy Trinity. Absolute Batman's going to follow Bruce Wayne without his fortune and without Wayne Manor. We also have a spin on Wonder Woman coming with Absolute Wonder Woman. They're giving us a remake of the Holy Trinity, Russ. No Themyscira, no Amazon Sisters, no Mission of Peace. And then last but not least, we are getting an Absolute Superman with no Kents to be found in this narrative and no Fortress of Solitude. Now, there has been some ridicule of the larger logo that's on Absolute Batman, kind of some Dark Knight Returns vibes, but Scott Snyder has actually showcased that it's removable and turns into a weapon of sorts. And regardless of if you're poo-pooing it or not, between issues 1 and the second printing, Bleeding Cool is announcing a total of over 250,000 units expected to sell. Say what you will, but Scott Snyder can sell some Batman.
While you may not have the Absolute Batman Ash Can just yet, and you have to wait until number 1 comes out, you most likely have this next one, number 9 on the list, King in Black, number 1, Null's Swan Song. $8 average sales and $49 for a CGC 9.8. This was a 5-issue miniseries that basically showed the final arc of Null, ending with him being killed in the Marvel Universe. And we have not seen him since then, but 126% increase in copies sold this week on the news that Null will be showing up in the new Spider-Man movie. This book also had a surprise cameo from Elektra as Daredevil, and it was basically Null versus the entire Marvel Universe. I loved this. A lot of people loved this. Did you keep your copy? Let us know in the comment section down below.
Which brings us to number 8 on the list with a comic book that if you don't already have, you need to go buy, get the whole run, and enjoy it issue by reading it. You may want to pick up more than one is what I'm saying. We have Kingdom Come number 1, Alex Ross Brilliance. You can get this for $9. Someone paid $166 for a CGC 9.8 this month, and it's all because of the Kickstarter. There is a documentary, a film about this legendary Alex Ross run, where they teamed up with a bunch of celebrities, big names in the comic industry, and they're just gushing about this run and Alex Ross art and how it changed the entire landscape of art in comic books. We're seeing an increase of copies sold of 218% this week because we're seeing clips of the documentary start to land. So you need to just be following Alex Ross on Instagram. I've seen clips with Todd McFarlane talking about Alex Ross, Brian Pulido, Mark Waid's was released recently, and this Kickstarter was only a goal of $50,000. And as of the day of this filming, and you still got a month left to back it, it's hit over 300,000. Now, to be clear, this is not a paid ad. This is just an endorsement because your boy loves Alex Ross and grew up reading Kingdom Come with his dad when he was little. This is a great opportunity to back an awesome project, but you also can get access to stream this by backing the project, or you can pay a little bit more and get a physical Blu-ray of the movie, which I think I'm going to have to do. There's add-ons for exclusives, and you also can get signed, certified books by the CGC if you choose to. Peep the Kickstarter. I'll put the link in the description. Alex Ross is the GOAT, and you're going to hear multiple creators that you love share that same sentiment.
Number 7 on the list, a book we have absolutely talked about before, and actually probably 4 or 5 years ago was when we were talking about this. You may have picked it up then. You may want to pick it up now. Number 7 on the list, Fantastic Four number 185. First appearance of Nicholas Scratch, a warlock and the son of Agatha Harkness. Obviously, this is being driven by Agatha all along, and episode 3 dropping this week. We are seeing $30 average sales and $375 for CGC 9.8. This is a 218% increase in copies sold. Now, while there has been speculation about this since the WandaVision show, the big question on everyone's mind this week is, who is Joe Locke? We have a new character who is a teen that is helping out Agatha in the new Agatha series, and we aren't able to figure out what his name because of a sigil that has been cast on him, not allowing him to say anything. Now, there are clues. There are some breadcrumbs. We absolutely see a room that has the name Nicholas in it, but is Marvel leading us in one direction and ready to take us in the other one? We're not quite certain, but there are a lot of people believing that Joe Locke may very well be Nicholas Scratch. Or we could very well have Billy, who happens to be Wanda's son and is also known as Wiccan, himself a budding and growing warlock in the magical universe. You know there's a lot of speculation, and there are two very distinct possibilities for this character.
This next book is my favorite comic on the list, and I'm so excited to talk about it. Way undervalued, and it's out there. But before we get to it, do yourself a solid. Download Key Collector Comics. This is the app we use and source all these comic books from. And as a collector and dealer, I use it every single day. What about you at the LCS?
Oh, absolutely. This is something I have opened on a tab on my laptop computer and as the app on my phone. Wherever I am in the shop, I am always using it just to double check the things that I know about comics.
You can utilize Code Tom101 to support the show, but you also get access to a free 2-week subscription of the app in its entirety. But 98% of the app is completely free to catalog your comic books, to look up key significant moments in comics, or if you just want to see every comic in a run, everything is there. The entire database is vast, and you absolutely need it if you're looking at wanting to buy, hunt, or learn about funny books. Now, moving on to number 6 on the list, we have RoboCop #1. This magazine-size comic book came out in 1987. $125 average sales, $139 for a CGC 9.2 that sold this past May. And we haven't seen a 9.8 of this book sell since September 2023. We haven't seen a 9.8 sell since April 2022. And when it did, it went for $552 because there is only 5 9/8s on the census. This oversized magazine is missed by so many people. I think a lot of individuals don't realize that that's the first appearance of RoboCop. So it gets missed in long boxes, and it's seldomly bagged and boarded, so they're always looking atrocious. This is a book you have to burn in your memory, because if you can find one on the hunt, you're going to have one of the very few high-grade copies if it looks nice. There's a RoboCop game that came out in like 2023. We haven't seen a on-screen adaptation since. We had, dude from Suicide Squad who played Rick Flag. It was so good back in 2014. That movie went under the radar. You got to watch that most recent RoboCop. I love this series. And Amazon is picking it up for a ongoing series soon, which is causing an increase of copies sold of 400% this week.
If you like what we do and want to support the show, plus you like Peach Momoko, plus, hey, you like no-brainers as far as money goes, you should subscribe to the Mystery Mail Call this month. We have an amazing Peach Momoko NYX #1 variant that is already selling for $50 on eBay. It is a partnership with Trinity Comics, and this book is hot. If you use the link down below, it is only $34.99 to sign up. So already you're ahead. Plus, there are bonuses and more books coming for you in the box.
Support the video you're watching right now while we move on to number 5 and I make this guy talk about Agatha again.
Oh man, was it Agatha again? No, it's Agatha all along. But number 5 on the list, hey, another book we've talked about multiple times, Fantastic Four number 94. First appearance of Agatha Harkness. We are now reporting $275 average sales and $255 for a 9.0. A slabbed book, and it's vintage because it's old enough you have to pay extra for it and it takes longer. Really, getting a high-grade slab for that price, that's a fantastic deal right now.
I mean, typically when we're reporting on high averages, it's going to be in the 8.0 range for the majority of books, especially from like 1970. And you can get, for less than the average sale, a 9.0. It's a no-brainer. I think a lot of people have probably purchased this book and they're holding it right now because we haven't seen, look at this, a 9.8 sell since April of this year. We haven't seen a 9.6 sell since July. 9.4 just sold, 487 in August, and the 9.2 sold in April. But the book is going for under $300 at a 9.2 still.
It's a 114% increase in copies sold, very clearly because of the Agatha television show. How much longer is this book going to hang around? And when the show is done, is she still going to be relevant in the MCU?
Which brings us to number 4 on the list with Incredible Hulk 449 that came out in 1996, seeing $50 average sales, $246 for a CGC 9.8 this past week. An increase of copies sold of 211% after the most recent trailer dropped. It looks great, dude.
I'm so excited for this movie. I really am. I think it's great that they have put together a fantastic team, and it feels a lot like when we had the Avengers sequels where you already knew all the characters. They didn't have to spend any time on backstory, except for maybe possibly Bob.
Who are you?
I'm Bob.
We'll get to Bob in a second, but I'm hyped to see all these characters again. Yeah, they had some character development, but their screen time was rather short, and this is gonna be a great opportunity for them to be like front and center. We can see their powers in full. Hopefully, we see them maybe go more in the directions we hope to had seen them originally in the movies they debuted in. It's just another opportunity to mulligan to see if any of these characters pop. And this isn't the only movie that I'm excited about next year. I'll remind you, prior to Thunderbolts coming out May 2nd, 2025, we do have Captain America Brave New World that comes out Valentine's Day, February 14th next year. And then July 25th next year, 2025, we got Fantastic Four, First Steps.
Number 3 on the list, some James Gunn goodness. We are talking about Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, number 1. $30 average sales and $118 for CGC 9.8. The first time we talked about this book was back in January of 2023 when we found out that James Gunn was going to be working on a movie project, and this story was supposed to be the basis of that. Well, flash forward a year later, in January 2024, we had news that Millie Alcock was cast as Supergirl, which got all of us excited. Well, right now, we have casting information for the bad guy, Krem, who happens to have his first appearance in this comic book, and that's causing a 620% increase in copies sold.
There's been an increase of 67 copies in 9/8 since February when we last reported on this. Millie Alcock's casting pushed this over the edge, but we're also hearing rumors about a Lobo appearance, maybe by Jason Momoa. All rumors, leakers at best, but this right here is a recipe for major success considering that James Gunn has been the primary mover and shaker of collectible comic books over the last, at DC, 5-6 years.
Absolutely.
The entire time. Seldomly do the other movies actually cause a stir in the marketplace, but when James Gunn gets involved, stuff goes crazy. Imagine if we hear anything about Lobo in this movie.
Now, I know a lot of you are speculators and you're buying comics to see if they go up, but for those of you that are actually reading the comic books and really did like the creative team that made Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, we heavily recommend, Fire Guy Ryan heavily recommends, Helena Windhorn, another new book being written by Tom King. It is excellent, and everyone should check it out.
Yeah, Ryan has straight up said that it's better than Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is a very bold statement. So pick that up while we move on to number 2 on the list with Daredevil 270. First appearance of Blackheart, the son of Mephisto, seeing $30 average sales, $185 for a CGC 9.8, an increase of copies sold since episode 2, now on episode 3 of Agatha All Along, of 750%. Straight up name dropped Mephisto.
Others say he might be a demon or an agent of Mephisto.
But does it feel any different a couple days after this episode? Can you imagine during WandaVision if the name Mephisto was used at all, what would happen?
That's the really interesting thing, Tom, because when we were watching WandaVision, and even in the weeks leading up to WandaVision, every single little detail was getting completely, totally nitpicked. There was an M on the bottle of wine. It had to mean House of M, and oh my God, a House of M. Like, really, there was crazy stuff going on. So the fact that they actually name drop Mephisto, and we're not seeing Silver Surfer 3 spike, we're not seeing any of the other books spike astronomically, it's pretty calm and tempered. Are we gonna see him in the show?
Don't forget that Sacha Baron Cohen supposedly was cast as Mephisto for the Ironheart show and did some reshoots and some scenes for it. Keep in mind, the Hood gets his powers from Mephisto, and that's like the main antagonist, supposedly, for this show that's coming to Disney+. But there's also been a bunch of interviews with the show producers from WandaVision and Agatha that have straight up talked about the crazy conspiracies that happened during WandaVision and how just all the Mephisto talk and spec was like super amusing to them. This could be them stoking the fire, doing what they've done in the past, pointing in one direction and then not even addressing it. This character may not even show up in the show. And I think that that's caused, the books to kind of slow down as it pertains to spec of that caliber for such a major character.
But what about Bob, Tom?
Hit the like and slap the subscribe. Let's talk about Bob. At the list at number 1, we have the Sentry issue number 1, the first appearance of Sentry, Marvel's version of Superman, and the first appearance of The Void. We are seeing $80 average sales, $325 for a CGC 9.8. 2 new 9.8s have been added to the census since this was chatted about last on August 15th. And clearly, Sentry is coming to the Thunderbolts. I mean, this is a Suicide Squad team to go and do either like a rescue mission or of some kind. They have to team up to go and get Bob, who seemingly is in prison or something. But he doesn't go by Sentry. He looks like a normal dude, which is very similar to the comic books. It's someone who becomes the Sentry, this powerful, godlike character. But when he's not in his super, he's a normal dude.
And I believe the big question about Bob is whether or not he's going to be in one movie or whether he'll be accepted into the team and carry on. We do know that Sentry is part of New Avengers, and that New Avengers run has got a lot of source material for everything in the MCU. It had the Ronin stuff, it had the Kate Bishop stuff, it had the Maria Hill stuff, it had Skrull stuff. I mean,
Null straight up splits the Sentry in half. I mean, we need to see Sentry in the future because we need to see him killed by the god of the symbiotes.
but is he going to be accepted into the team a little bit like Adam Warlock in Guardians of the Galaxy and carry on? Or is it really just going to be he gets his arc and then goes away?
He's super powerful. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Are you buying the first appearance of Sentry? This book hit $660 at a 9.8. It's going for half a short few months before the movie drops. If you own this book, let us know. And then, of course, as always,
Geek responsibly.
enough said.